Niner. Making contact at point 003.
Welcome to Live Action Star Wars. I'm James.
I'm Ralph.
And is this a data link? Is this this is regular live action?
This is a data link. No, this is a data link.
Data link. Okay. Welcome to Data Link by
Can I
Live
just
Action Star Wars
please-
presents Data Link.
Can I just
God, we're
play
out of
some-
sorts today. What's going on?
Whoop. There it goes.
Let's restart.
Yeah.
that.
So the opening wasn't a data link opening. It was the
Regular
Live Action
episode.
Star Wars
I
opening.
think that's what threw me. Yeah, there we go.
So what happens is I have to click that brand up there,
Mm.
and then it'll do the thing. I mean, do you guys want to sit through the countdown and the data link opening?
I think they've seen it. Go watch
Yeah,
another
they've seen
Data
it.
Link episode. It's a good excuse if you
Yeah.
really want to see that intro. Yeah, Stevie's
I
here in the
literally-
chat and saying chaos. Yeah.
I was literally telling her because this back here usually doesn't look like this. Everyone knows that the bed is here, and so all the like more decorative pillows end up there.
Yeah.
And so like 10 minutes before 9, I'm like, shit, I told Steve, I said, these 9 o'clock ones make it feel like I have all the time in the world to do
Yeah.
stuff. And then the time comes and I'm like, oh, I haven't done any
Shit.
of it.
Yeah. I feel exactly the same. It's weird doing it after work as opposed to before work. By not being in a rush, I'm more in a rush when it gets to it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a weird one.
Yeah.
We didn't have
Especially in the
anything
morning
set.
farting around.
We didn't have anything set for this one. Go on. Sorry.
No, go for it.
I
mean,
so-
it's data link.
Exactly. It's Data Link. You know what to expect. So we were like, let's just do another character spotlight episode. We did our Jar Jar episode a couple of months ago, probably before Ahsoka, wasn't it?
Right.
So it's been a little while. And we said then that next time we do this, we're probably going to end up doing Wedge. And so when I suggested doing a character one, you shot back with Wedge straight away. You've got your hat. And it was just like cool. Let's just do a Wedge episode. But it's an easy one. There's minimal prep, and it's just a real casual chat and why we like Wedge Antilles.
There's zero prep.
I did some prep.
I thought about doing prep, but I was like, I'm not gonna do prep. The only prep I really wanted to do was to go up in my closet and pull down my box of action figures because I have a Wedge Power of the Force. I have the one that came in the Millennium Falcon carrying case. It was the
nice.
The only way you can get it. But yeah, I didn't know. I was like, no, I'm not gonna. I don't know. I've been busy, and then it's just so everyone knows, like, I'm not going to be here next week at all. No live action Star Wars next week. I'll be in Hawaii. I leave in 3 days.
Amazing. I'm so jealous. It's
Yeah,
like -2 centigrade here at the moment, and I just want some
Right.
sun. I've got a cold still, and I just want to be on a beach. That'd be great. There might be an episode. I don't know yet. There might be something fun. I'm just trying to figure out the logistics of filming it and trying to get it cammed properly. Might just play that card game that I've talked about a couple of times. Like, if I can convince Liz to play that on camera, we might just play that and talk about it as we're playing it or something, and then just put that up. Or there might be nothing. You never know. You'll have to tune in and see.
Yeah. So like everybody knows, James is a huge Wedge fan. Wedge is like his dude. He's got the helmet, and I don't really bring it up a lot, but like Wedge is easily top 5 for me. Like I love it. Like Wedge is one of my favorite.
It's weird, isn't it? I don't know what
pilot.
it is. He's one of those characters, I think, that like when you're chatting to someone and they're like, oh yeah, I like Star Wars, and if it ever comes up, well, like who their favorite character might be, if Wedge is even ever mentioned, even as an honorable mention, you're like, I get it. Like you get it, and it's just it's a thing.
Here's the thing. If you watched any Disney era Star Wars, I would say even like starting with like The Force Awakens, there's a thing called fan service. I'm okay with it. I'm kind of lukewarm on it. It depends on if it serves a story.
Yeah.
Like a Saw Gerrera coming into Rogue One, because that's a character that was around that time, and a character that they wanted that type of a character in their story, and they're like, we have a character like that. Perfect.
You could say Mon Mothma and
Makes
Andor,
sense.
like it's things like that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah. Then you have things like um, the remote, the training remote, Millennium Falcon. You have Walrus Man and Dr. Evazan in Rogue One. There's different kind of
tears,
things.
like tears
the
of
Filoni
yeah,
cameo of the week kind of stuff. There's all of these things that happen. The original Star Wars didn't have that. The original trilogy. I grew up with the original trilogy, and it had none of that because there wasn't anything
to reference. Yeah, yeah.
But if you were an eagle-eye viewer as a kid, you noticed that there was one character who was a way side character that shows up in all three.
Yeah.
And there's no fanfare to it. He's just around.
He's just always there. Like more than any other side character, he's the only guy who sticks around for all three movies. Like none of the other generals, none of the other like Piet. That's why Piet is my favorite Imperial officer, is because he's in Empire and then Jedi.
Yeah.
So it's the exact same reason. Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, you know, you get excited to see your favorite characters show up in whatever, in blank. Like Boba Fett showed up in The Mandalorian. You're like, oh my God, it's Boba Fett.
Yep.
Great. But yeah, back then you didn't have that. And so like I kind of glommed onto that character being like, well, he's around the whole time. He didn't die at some point. He's around. He's at the celebration and he's at the first Death Star. What's happening to this guy in between these movies? Like, while we only catch the little glimpses, but he's clearly doing other stuff.
We see him for a battle in each film, and that's it. Like, we don't know what his life is like. We don't know who he is. Like, and it took Michael Stackpole. I mean, Timothy Zahn did it a little bit in the Heir to the Empire books. He's in those books all the way through, and Rogue Squadron is mentioned. But it was Michael Stackpole with the Rogue Squadron novels in particular, and then Wraith Squadron with Aaron Alston writing, that fleshed out Wedge and made. That's why he's my favorite character, not just that guy that I really like. It's because of those books and because of the characterization from that.
So you guys know me, I don't read, and I'm not super interested in like going and reading Wedge's backstories because I still like the fact that he's a mystery and he's kind of just out there.
Yeah.
And there's the whole thing of like, Boba Fett's so mysterious. Where did he come from? And then you find out where he came from, and you're like, no one likes it. And I'm like, well, I like it. I'm still cool with Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
But for you, when you ended up reading those Wedge stories, was like, did it fulfill anything? Like, did it disappoint at all?
No, not at all. I was the exact right age to be reading those books. And I think that's probably what did it. I don't know. They were coming out in 96, 97. So yeah, I'm like 9, 10, 11, 12. Like I'm right at that age where I'm reading these books, and I'm picking the first one up because it's got a big old X-Wing dogfight on the cover with some X-Wings attacking a Star Destroyer and looks great. Like sold, absolutely sold. I know that I've read other books already. I've already read the Thrawn trilogy, so I know more about Wedge and Rogue Squadron and how they're around. But it's the characterization at the time of those, and I was just like, Wedge is just the coolest guy because he's not the lead of the first 4 books anyway. Like, if there is a male lead of those books, it's Corran Horn, who at the time I loved, and I look back on now and I'm like, probably a little bit of a janky character. Like, isn't a favorite of mine now. But Wedge he's like the number 2, and he's definitely like the boss of all of those books. And he's cool, he's calm, he breaks the rules when he needs to, but he's also still very much like the military dude. It's funny.
Is it like a Poe Dameron type?
Kind of, but yeah, I mean, I guess. Probably not as brash as Poe. He's confident, but he also has a lot of respect for like Akbar and things like that. He can't stand the politicians apart from Leia, who he's actually friends with. And again,
Yeah.
the fact that he's in all of these movies, it's recognized that he is, you know, you've got the core 3, 5, 6, if you include like Chewie and the droids and stuff like that, and then Lando, and then Wedge. Like literally, like if Lando is B, Wedge is like B1. He's right there with them. And it to the point where he really should have been included in that group shot at the end of Return of the Jedi. Like he's that like close to them in the way that he's always written as a character.
I'm glad he's there.
I'm glad he's
at
there.
the
And
party, though.
I think I've told the story on this before, but Dennis Lawson has told the story how they shot that in LA. That was like one of the last things that they were shooting. They didn't do that in London. And it was George Lucas who was like, well, we should get Dennis out here. They flew Dennis out just for like 2 days of shooting that party scene because they were like, no, he belongs here. He needs to be here. We don't just want random extras.
I wonder what that was. I wonder why George brought him back for Empire.
I think George just liked him. I think George just liked that character. And probably saw that there was more to do with him.
I mean, he was one of the other ones that survived.
Yeah,
like
there's not many that survive that first Death Star. You've got the unnamed Y-wing pilot who has been named in old legends and things like that, and I think maybe in the new stuff. But Luke, Han, and Wedge. That's it. And then he's featured more prominently in Empire, the beginning of Empire. And then
what's crazy is he has an arc.
Yeah.
Through the trilogy.
Yeah. And it depends on I think even more of an arc if you include fake Wedge. Like the briefing room Wedge, who isn't. Like I don't consider that to be Wedge these days. I think that's just someone else.
No. Right.
But when I was a kid, I was like, he doesn't look like that in the cockpit. Where's that guy? Because that was always in my mind when I was a kid, that was Wedge.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not. But yeah,
the whole him like all the Rebel pilots going into the Death Star, and everybody's using their military speak. Everybody's even Luke is very like, I'm on a mission.
Yeah.
And Wedge saying, look at the size of that thing. Like Wedge is the only one to be like, take it out. Let's listen. Can we just sit back and look at the situation we're in? This is jacked up.
We are.
And Wedge has like a very, very casual conversation. He's very casual about what he's saying over the comm link.
And
or
and
he
even
lets his comm link on and he's like, cut the chatter.
Yeah.
But the arc from that, being like just a kid who's like
2 years older than Luke,
like game over, man. Like he's like brand new dude who's like actually reacting and is like he's a rookie. He's not established to Empire where he's more established, and then Jedi where
he's not the number one, he's not the commander, but like by the time Jedi rolls around, he's leading the fighters. Like him and Lando are the in charge of the attack, basically.
Death Star 2 doesn't phase him at all.
Nah. He's in. I just finished reading the Return of the Jedi from a certain point of view, and he's in that in a few, because it's other people's stories and stuff. You don't get one specifically from Wedge, but he pops up in a lot of the others because you get a few different pilots.
Yeah.
And it's great because everyone has such reverence for him at that point, because they're talking about, like, they know that they're going to do this attack the next day. They're maybe going and getting their last meal. They're contemplating doom, basically, and how it ends today, no matter what, like whether we win or lose, it's over. And they look at him as this like bastion of not hope necessarily, but of just like stability. And it's like, we follow this guy. He's got it. Like, he is our rock, and that's the role that he plays for all of them. And it's why the Return of the Jedi space battle is my favorite. It's because of that stuff. I can watch those scenes just on repeat, like as a supercut of just the space battle stuff, and it's just amazing. I love it.
And it's so funny because, like, Wedge is like a hero of Death Star 1.
Yep.
He bailed on the mission because he had no other choice.
Yeah.
But it's also like that's what I like about the character is like, hey, listen, I can sit here and die.
Yes.
There's nothing I can do.
I was about
But
to say the same
it's
thing.
like Godzilla -1. I'm making the decision to live so I
Yeah.
can fight the next fight.
Yeah.
It
You can't do
on
any
the
more good
surface
back
can
there.
feel
All you're gonna do is
empowered.
die. Like, yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, Luke's he's in a a really, really tense situation. So him
Yeah.
saying you're no good, you're
You can't do any
you're
more good
useless.
back
Yeah.
there. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And Wedge doesn't
Um,
like, and he's sorry as he pulls out and stuff like that. He doesn't want to. I think if Luke had said, I need you back there, he's staying.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's always the impression
But
he got. But yeah.
he's like the ultimate wingman, but at the same time, like it makes him more human. It makes
Mm.
people kind of later on under his wing. He probably tells that story.
Yeah.
They probably
He
say,
feels
"Oh, you're
great
the
shape.
hero of the Death Star," and he probably tells them, "Hey, listen,
Luke's the hero of
it
the Death
was
Star. In
it
his
was
words, yeah.
yeah, but
He's the
you know,
survivor of the Death Star.
yeah, he probably tells his story like, "Hey, listen, my instruments were down. There
Yeah.
was nothing I could do but buy Luke maybe a split second if I stayed there."
Yeah.
Um,
And like it comes up in one of the books. Like, I think someone's talking to him about how he's the only person in the galaxy to survive and like help take down 2 Death Stars. Like,
yeah,
it's a thing in the old X-Men comics as well. Like, they're all marking up their tie kills and stuff on their things, and he's the only one who's got 2 Death Stars painted on the side of his X-wing as well.
yeah,
Like, there's no one else can do that. It's great, and so everyone has so much respect for him. He's like the ace of all aces,
yeah,
but in his mind, he's still got a bit of shame for it because he had to bail out. Like, he knows that
yeah,
that was what he had to do, but he's never going to shake that as someone whose job it is to be a fighter pilot.
yeah, yeah. That's why I also don't want to read. I also don't want to read the books because I
You
I
like
don't know.
the mystic, no, not mystic,
I
but
mean,
like the mystery of it.
yeah. I'm afraid I'm gonna read something where I'm just like, oh, he's the one that told Lando how to do the maneuver at the Battle of Tanab, and it's like I don't want that. I
I
don't
don't think
want
that
that.
is.
I feel like Wedge should always be a side character.
There's
Always.
the only thing, and it's something that was really hammered home in like the old Del Rey, not Del Rey, Bantam era of Star Wars books, was like, because they didn't have much to go on, Wedge is Corellian, and because of that, like, he doesn't like odds either. And it's just like,
Yeah,
that they made that a trait of all Corellians, and it's like, it
and
doesn't
all
need to be
Trandoshans are bounty hunters and all. Yeah,
stuff that they've got away with, like they've got away from now, because I don't think that's ever come up. There's a Trandoshan Jedi Master in the High Republic. Like, they've got away from a lot of those stereotypes in Star Wars, which I'm a big fan of. Like, diversify it a bit more, which is very good. But in doing that, in losing some of that stuff, they've got rid of some of Wedge's backstory, and they've changed some stuff. That was really well established because of Michael Stackpole in the books and comics that he wrote, which very much featured Wedge. And I kind of miss it, but then I was more excited. I've told this story before. I was sat in the room at Celebration in London in 2016, and they're showing the trailer for season 3 of Rebels, and I freak out because Wedge is shown quite early on in that trailer, and the rest of the room is like, okay, cool, this is Rebels, great. And then they all freak out because Thrawn shows up in that trailer, and I'm like, yeah, cool, great, Blue Guy's here too, but Wedge, give me fucking Wedge. Like, and
yeah,
we got a whole episode dedicated to Wedge and Hobby, but Wedge predominantly. And then he pops up. He's a recurring character through that,
yeah.
which I love.
That's what I like, and I say that, but like, if they were to do an Andor style Wedge show,
Oh, give it to me.
like I want him to be a pilot. Like, I kind of what I would like is like a behind enemy lines type of thing.
That'd be cool. Him shot down. I mean,
Like,
okay, so
start with a dogfight.
Mhm.
Have him land on a planet, survive behind enemy lines and escaping in a ship. Like this was just a
Boy,
movie.
have I got a
don't
book
know.
for you.
Oh fuck! See, but do I want to read it? I don't know if I want to read it.
No,
Does he do?
you don't need
does he
to.
do the audiobooks?
No, Dennis. No, he did the Heir to the Empire abridged one way back in like '91 or something.
Was that George again?
Maybe it could well have been. And then he did like some
weird.
video game voices. He did, I think, Rogue Squadron 2, maybe 3, on the N64.
He's in Squadrons,
GameCube.
right?
Yeah, and that is Dennis Lawson does a bit. He's not in Squadrons all that much. He just pops in. It's more of a cameo.
But
Hera's in Squadrons more than Wedge.
But I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's kind of. I feel like that's where he should be, but also I want to know more. But also I don't want to read the books.
Yeah,
I just want to know a little more.
Mm-hmm.
What was it, Mandalorian season 3? Like we saw Zeb in that thing in the. It was just a small bit.
Yeah,
like,
it was the
that's
Rangers,
about as
it?
much. That's about as much Wedge as I want. Like just a scene like there, because I want him. I'm afraid of over explanations of characters. I'm really, really afraid because I like the character so much. I don't want it ruined.
So I wrote a biography from memory of what I could remember of Wedge's thing. I was just gonna make a couple of notes earlier on today, and I ended up writing like a full. What I think all this stuff is the canon stuff, because I could have gone in way deeper on all of the old now legends and stuff, because that's all the books and everything that I remember, and I've reread, and I'm like re-listening to them as they do the new unabridged audio collections, which are really nice. Kevin Thompson doing the narration, great, really good stuff. He's got a really good Wedge voice, and it's nice to revisit those old books. But yeah, so Wedge, born on Corellia during the Clone Wars. He's about the same age as Sabine, so he's a couple of years older than Luke and Ezra and Leia and those guys who were all born on the same day. He attended Sky Strike Academy with Derek Hobby Clivian before being rescued and brought into Phoenix Group, and later an official part of the Rebel Alliance by Sabine Wren, as we all know from that episode of Rebels, which was a episode written by friend of the show, Gary Whitta. Yeah, and we talked about that episode on the interview with Gary Whitta. So if you haven't watched that, go back and check that episode out. He talks about his love of Wedge as well. Wedge wasn't present at Scarif. Again, this is all stuff that came up when we were talking to Gary, I think. Wedge wasn't at the Battle of Scarif, but he was instrumental in taking down the Death Star. And like the only reason he's not at the Battle of Scarif is because there's that line in the film where he's shocked and he says, "Look at the size of that thing." The rest of Red Squadron are there. Some of them don't make it. Red 5 doesn't make it.
Saw the Death Star already.
Yeah, that's it. And I think there might be a Red 2 as well, who gets shot down in that space battle, which then Wedge takes. Or there isn't a Red 2 present or something. I don't know if that's been explained in
Red 5. There was a Red 5. And Red
5 was there, and we see get killed. I don't know if there's a Red 2 mentioned, but that's Wedge. He's like the wingman of the squad leader at that point. So he's even at that point, he's well respected, which
hold on.
When
so I've seen behind the scenes pictures because of the Topps card trader app. And the behind the scenes shows a heavier pilot holding a helmet, and it's definitely Porkin's helmet.
Yeah.
And you see Biggs's helmet.
The
all these so all these guys have seen the Death Star already. The only person in that battle who hasn't is Wedge.
And Luke.
Luke's been in the Death Star.
Well, I mean,
Luke's seen it. So I'm thinking literally nobody has seen it, and that's his first.
That's why they're saying cut the shutter.
Yeah.
Like it's like, we know it's coming.
Yeah, we know. We've
things like that.
Seen it.
Isn't it things like that though that make it? It's like that enhances more than detracts. It doesn't take anything away from that scene. It's Wedge who's shocked, and Wedge is being like the audience surrogate in that moment. It'd be like oh man, this is going to take a lot to try and take this down with snub fighters.
Yeah.
And it's perfect. It's one of those moments that is additive more than detracting. So that's great. Yeah, we don't see Biggs in Scarif. They didn't try and put
No,
him in
but
there, did
he
they?
is in the behind the
helmet.
scenes stuff. I
Yeah.
have seen his helmet in the behind the scenes stuff.
I remember
And
those.
then of
those
course
shots.
Gold Squadron's there.
Yep.
So
Survivors.
So Blue Squadron's the only one that actually goes into
They're under the shield.
the
Yeah.
shield.
Yeah. And again, not even all of them, but and that's why none of Blue Squadron survives. They're
Rogue
completely
One's so
wiped out.
good.
It's amazing. I love that film so much. Yeah, so wasn't present at the Battle of Scarif, but was instrumental in taking down the Death Star when where he flew as Red 2. When Luke formed Rogue Squadron, which happens in comics in this, in the new canon, like in between the two, Luke forms Rogue Squadron with the remains of Red Squadron, and it is based on Rogue One. Like he hears about Gian Erso and her sacrifice and everything, and the squadron is now canonically named after their actions and their sacrifice that they made. Which I've again no problem with that. I think it's kind of a neat little thing. It is from the bones of Red Squadron, so it is still technically like the same group, and it is all the way through, but it's just a different incarnation. And at that point in time, it was Rogue Squadron. Wedge was Rogue 3, and when he was in his T-47, Wedge Jansen was his gunner. Wes Jansen and Wedge, best buddies. Like they are the closest of all of the other pilots in the squadrons and in the books and things like that. It's Jansen and Wedge who are like best friends. And Jansen he's a bit of a cud. He plays pranks on Wedge all the time. He's always teasing him. In one of the old books, he put a stuffed Ewok in an X-wing and would just hide it places. And like, there's a whole like ongoing gag of yub yub commander. It's just like they're always trying to convince people that there is an Ewok in the squad now. I can't remember the Ewok's name, but yeah, they had one. When Luke left Rogue Squadron after Hoth, Wedge was given command and appointed Jansen as his XO. The squad was reformed and renamed as Red Squadron at that point because they didn't want to keep going with Luke's name. But it would later return to the Rogue Squadron name after Endor. And Wedge was once again instrumental in destroying the second Death Star, making him the only pilot in the galaxy with 2 marked on his ship. You can tell that I like Wedge. Rogue Squadron and Wedge reported directly to Hera, which again, a neat little thing because she was kind of in command of a lot of that stuff, and he's got the relationship with her from being part of Phoenix Group. So it makes sense that if they're going to do any sort of structuring, she's going to be his like direct report officer. Which makes me think like it's a shame that we haven't seen him in any of the shows yet. Like he's a character, or at least like mentioned. But that stuff all comes up in Star Wars Squadrons, the video game, where.
But I mean, that's like together. we would recast. Mm-hmm. I think I'd be okay with that.
Yep, I'm okay with it.
I'm into the character, and I mean, he appears so little.
Yeah.
And
it's the character more than the actor. Like, and I no disrespect to Dennis Lawson. Dennis Lawson does a great job, and I love him in the role. But it's the character that we like more than the portrayal.
Yeah, I wonder who you get. I wonder who you get to do that.
I know when we first started talking about like a Rogue Squadron movie before it was announced and then cancelled, you were hot like for Chris Pine. Chris Pine to be in there as something, as the lead, whatever role that would be. I could see it. I think he'd be fine. I think it'd be a pretty good Wedge. There you go. That's the shot.
Okay, so I don't know if you could see this guy here is Porkins.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the helmet. It's the exact markings. So that's Porkins. I actually don't see a Biggs.
There is another shot though. I think they're all stood around and he's stood behind someone and he's holding his helmet. So you can't see the face. You can see like the side of a mustache, I think. And the helmet.
Did he get I could see that they would remove that
shot and then cut, maybe like
they would cut him out completely.
Yeah.
Because maybe it's still canon. The Tashi Station stuff is still canon.
That's it.
And
It,
Biggs
it
will
gives
be
them
there.
more options. Yeah, it gives them the options if they want
Yeah.
to use that. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of like that Biggs isn't there because, yeah.
We don't know. We don't know. Again, there's so much, and it's changed. And with the Tashi Station stuff, it's when is that, and then there's the Rand Ecliptic, which was the ship that him and I think that
Well,
was
a lot of
where
people-
Hobby was originally. Like in the old canon, I think it was Hobby and Biggs who defected at the same time.
A lot of people talk about Rogue One, how it leads directly, like within the next 5 minutes, it's Star Wars. But there's like,
Doesn't need to be.
listen, Vader's on the Radis, I think.
Yeah, at the end.
He's got to get to his Star Destroyer.
The Radis is what it's named. That's in Last Jedi is the Radis.
Oh yeah, he's on Radish's ship.
Yeah.
And he's got to get to his Star Destroyer, the closest Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
And then track where find out the coordinates of where this,
Devastator? I think it's the Devastator that he goes back to.
This blockade runner took off to. That takes more than 2 minutes.
They didn't have hyperspace tracking back then. That's a new thing for later on. So
yeah. So it's one of those things where it's I think could be a day or two.
Yeah, easily.
Maybe a day.
I'm fine with that. Wait for the next
big.
report. The Tantive comes out of hyperspace, pings an Imperial patrol, and then the Devastator jumps in behind them, and that's where we pick up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Head to the outer rim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Biggs has been on Tashi Station. Down to Tashi Station. He's been back up to his ship. He's defected. And he's made his way. Because at this point, if he's ready to defect and bail, I feel like he's not he's just showing up at the Rebel base. He's probably got some contacts there. He's got someone who he's been in contact with.
He mentions that. He says, I know some guys.
Yeah, that's it. And he knows.
I know some guys.
He's got to know how to get there and things like that. So, yeah, he's been jumped in. The behind enemy lines stuff comes from Star Wars Aftermath, which is a controversial book. A lot of people really don't like it. It was the first book set post Jedi in the new canon, and there's the overarching story which does heavily involve Wedge, but then it cuts away. Every couple of chapters will be a cutaway, and that's when we get things like the Boba Fett armor with what's his name, who was in Mando, Cobb Vanth. Yeah, we get the Cobb Vanth stuff. We get Jar Jar, Sad Clown Jar Jar. We get teasers of what's going on at Kashyyyk, and then we get that more in the second Aftermath book. Bits and bobs like that. We're checking in with characters, and it's at this point. This is when Wedge is on a mission to a planet named Akiva, and he's captured by the Imperial Admiral Sloane, who previously in a previous book, when she was still a lieutenant, had run-ins with Hera and Kanan when they first got together. She's, I think, been mentioned in one of the shows. She should be around that Shadow Council table that we see in Mando. She's quite high up. And Wedge is rescued from there by a woman named Nora Wexley, who I believe, I think she was a pilot during the Battle of Endor and things like that. She knew Wedge, and she'd gone back to her home, and her son Temin, who is basically a orphan boy. She's a single parent. He's got a droid called Mr. Bones, who's a B1 battle droid. He's completely done up, and he's a murder bot. He's kind of like HK-47 from Knights of the Old Republic, but he's good fun. They rescue Wedge. They help Wedge. Story plays out over 3 books. Wedge and Nora get together. They get married. Wedge, I think, adopts Temin, who he nicknamed Snap because he's snapping his fingers all the time. He's already a precocious kid. He can fly and stuff. He can drive a speeder, but it's Wedge who teaches him how to fly properly, and gets him into the academy, everything like that.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't like in Rise of Skywalker that Snap dies just before Wedge gets there, and obviously there's only limited screen time, but there's no there's no recognition of, oh shit, my son just died. Because at that point in time,
Right.
Wedge and Nora had retired. Like Wedge, his leg gets messed up in that book, and he can't fly as well as he could before. He sort of says he might need to start slowing down in the combat side of things. He doesn't.
So does
He's
that
in other stories.
explain why he's in the Falcon?
It's not intended to do that. I think it was intended. I think the lines in the book were intended to be why he's not in those films, because at that point, Dennis Lawson was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to do it. I'm not interested. And then he comes back and they put him in that. I don't think there was ever a story group meeting about it. But in my mind, I'm like, yeah, okay, I can see it. He's a gunner now, and it's him and his buddy Lando, because they were the two.
It just sucks because they had there's the visual dictionary that has the shot of Wedge with his sequel era helmet.
Mm-hmm.
And his sequel era helmet is rad.
Yeah,
and it would have been great to see him in it. I'll bring that up.
Yeah, pull that up, because that's great, and it would be awesome. I would have loved to have seen it. We've said it. It's one of the biggest missed opportunities. Why don't you just put him in the cockpit? You've got cockpits around. You can knock one of them up if you know you're getting them in. Just do it. I don't know. It seems silly, unless he was just more comfortable sitting in that chair and swiveling around. And maybe he didn't want to wear the helmet, but he wanted his face shown. But it's a shame. But headcanon was it works. He had a bit of a bum leg, and he was retired. He was out of action, so he just jumped in the gunner seat with his buddy. But yeah, he was retired, and it took Snap. There's a book in between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, where they're trying to sort of recruit old rebel leaders, because they need leaders. They've got ships, they've got people, but they need leaders. And they're trying to recruit Wedge and Nora, and they don't want any part of it. Their war's done. They feel like they're old, that they can't contribute, and that's why Wedge showing up at the end is like it's a moment, because it's like, he's here. I'm back. I can't sit this fight out. Don't worry, your mum's safe at home, because she doesn't join the fight, I don't think, unless she does, but we don't see her because she's not a film character.
Right. Can't find the picture. I found the picture of him
in the cockpit,
just in the cockpit, him standing there, like the production photo, but I
Mm-hmm.
can't find the helmet, and I know I've seen it.
I've definitely seen it, yeah, because it's one of those the new type helmets, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's got the green.
Yeah, it's still like his look. Like
this is gonna drive me nuts. Episode.
So there is a behind the enemy lines sort of story already there for Wedge, but I mean, if there was ever chance of another one, I would take it. And it just seems so right and ready. Like we've talked about it a lot, that a Rogue Squadron movie should just be Top Gun Maverick. Like just do that and reskin it. But you could do a
Dennis
whole
Lawson,
series. Yeah.
Not as a pilot, but as
the John Hamm role, maybe?
John Hamm.
Yeah. I'd be fine with that. And then like all the other old boys from Maverick, like the ground crew, the people who knew Maverick, that no, you gotta trust this guy. He's old school, but you gotta trust him. You just name them Jansen, Hobby, Tycho, like all these other pilots. Just have them, like, they don't even need to be named in the film, just in the credits. Just have them credited as those people.
Right.
That's fine. That's all you need. While you're looking that up, and while we're talking about films, some news broke today, or was announced today, about a Star Wars movie is going into production this year. Guaranteed, at least one Star Wars movie is going into production this year. I was excited at first when I saw that. and then I saw that it was The Mandalorian and Grogu, which I guess is the working title. Directed by Favreau. Shooting soon, presumably.
Is he also writing the script?
I don't know.
I can't. I just don't know. I just don't know.
And again, I
I'm
this in Blue
excited
Sky.
to see.
That's it. This is
I'm
exactly
excited to go see a movie. I'm not super excited about the characters, but if they have, one of my things is it feels like Mandalorian when it says written by Jon Favreau. It really feels like,
hey, isn't this cool?
He has an idea. He has an A to Z for an episode, and just kind of like, we're in the volume. We could change things around.
Yeah.
There's a lot of improvisation, so the structure feels real loose. I'm hoping there's a real nice, tight script for this. And I feel like as long as if they feel like there's a story worth telling,
maybe it'd be just Chef in space. I like Chef. Chef's a great film. Maybe
he just opens a food truck outside his cabin.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe Alexa joins in the conversation. Yeah. I mean, I'd be fine with that. They just go on a food truck. They get a Razor Crest back. They start making some Cubanos in the back of it, and they just go around, and it's just Favreau's favorite places. They go to Bespin, they go to Dagobah, then it's just them getting to go everywhere in Star Wars. Yeah. And all it is just the Razor Crests. Like they'll build a Razor Crest for it. I'll let them build the Razor Crest, and then they just have the volume in the background just changing planets. That's it. That's the entire movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see a Star Wars movie. I don't dislike The Mandalorian. I don't want that to seem like I'm being salty about it. I don't dislike The Mandalorian. I think Grogu's great. I like Favreau as a director generally, but this is the least exciting thing that they could have done for a Star Wars movie for me.
Here's my thoughts. I'm burnt out on Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Echo's coming out, have zero interest. I had zero interest in the Marvels. I didn't watch Loki season 2. I'm tired of there being required viewing in order to go watch a thing. When I sit there and I watch the thing, instead of just sitting there and enjoying the story, I'm like, wait a second, who's that person? Yeah. Oh wait, they were in Doctor Strange 2. Or it's like, when was the last time we saw this guy? I thought this guy was dead. Oh wait, no, he was alive in Secret Invasion. You know what I mean? There's so much stuff.
I watched the first episode of Echo today, and it's 45 minutes long. 30 minutes of it is, hey, remember all of this? This is what happened in Hawkeye. The first 30 minutes of a 45-minute episode is like, there's a couple of new scenes in there. But most of it is like intercut with what is going on in that, just to bring you up to speed, because it's been 2.5 years for a minor character. And it's like, I wanted to check it out because I like
this movie. I'm gonna go see it, and we're gonna do an episode on it.
Of course we are. And we'll be excited about it.
I want this movie to be made for people who've never seen an episode of The Mandalorian.
That's it. There's been 3 seasons of this show, and now they're doing a movie. Cool. We all talk about like 6 seasons in a movie, yada yada, all the jokingness of that. But like, there's a barrier of entry. Yes, okay. Mandalorian was the most streamed show last year. Cool, great for Star Wars. That's really good for Star Wars. That doesn't mean that surely there's a barrier of entry if there is a show that people need to have seen 3 seasons of before you can go and watch this.
Yeah, I don't want that.
And
you know, when you watch Star Wars, you're just like, Star Wars, forget the universe, the galaxy, and everything in Star Wars. Star Wars is about a farm boy who meets up with some rebels and goes and takes out the bad guys. It's a standalone adventure. You can wonder about who Wedge is. You can wonder about who, what the Clone Wars were. You can wonder about all these things. You can wonder what, Beggar's Canyon is and all these things. But still, it's just this story. If they can do it without being like Siege of Mandalore, Bo-Katan, Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka, like
Boba Fett.
I don't want
all of the stuff with Grogu coming back is in Boba Fett. It's like now you need to watch so much more to understand what's going on in a movie. And
You know
I
what I
just
want?
worry. I worry because even if there's
You know what
new
I want?
people that one sec, if there's new people that come in and they're like, all right, there's a new Star Wars film. I haven't checked out any of these shows, but that Grogu guy's cute. I've seen pictures of him everywhere. I'll check this out. I'll watch the show. They
Okay.
watch the first season, they enjoy it. They watch the second season, they go, yeah, this is good. Then they're like, wait, shit, I gotta watch another different show. Oh man. And then they might not like that. And then they come back and they watch Mando season 3 and they're like, oh, I didn't really like that. They're not gonna go see that film.
Yeah. I know exactly what I want.
Go on.
I want Unforgiven. Exactly
Oh,
Unforgiven.
yeah.
Because where we left in season 3, Mando
Just wants to be retired on his
he's
bum.
a retired Mandalorian. He's given up violence. He's there raising his kid.
Yep.
He lives out in the desert, and then all of a sudden a problem happens in town, and he does everything he can to stay out of it. I don't want to be a part of this, and I've given up guns. And people are like, but you were Billy Mooney or whatever his name was. Like we know who you are. You need to help us. And he's like, no, I don't do that anymore. Like it literally needs
every
to
time
be,
I get out, they drag me back in. Like, yeah,
it literally needs to be that. You don't need to know about Moff Gideon. You don't need to know about any of the other bullshit. You don't need any of this stuff.
Yeah.
If it's just Unforgiven reskinned, 100%, just superimpose a helmet over Clint Eastwood. Like, make that movie.
We're the worst. We say that we want new things, and then we talk about how we just would like we'd be fine with a reskin of some of these things.
But here's the thing: Star Wars is a reskin of Hidden Fortress, Wizard of Oz, and westerns. Like, that's what Star Wars is built on. I'm tired of Star Wars being reskins of Star Wars.
Yes,
so
I agree with
dig
that.
into something else. Dig into like the way Ahsoka really leaned into, especially her episode of Mando, leaned into the samurai picture, the Kurosawa picture of it all. We haven't really gotten into the westerns, with the exception of the Mandalorian. The first couple episodes.
That was the joy of that first season. Yeah,
Book of Boba Fett. There's some western stuff in there, but let's just. I don't care about Moff Gideon, because when you said the Shadow Council, I'm like, oh my god, they still have to explain that.
Well, I mean, that I feel like that's set up for Ahsoka season 2 or the Filoni movie.
I'm tired of it all.
Yeah,
this movie. I'm really hoping, like, it doesn't have to just be a reskin of Unforgiven, but like where we left Mando. It's my favorite western. Yeah. Where we left Mando, that's the story that comes into my head. He's sitting on his porch with his feet are out, like he's sticking out of his helmet, or what? Does he have his helmet on? He doesn't have his helmet off.
No, he's still got the helmet on.
He's just like literally a farmer. His Mando gear, he doesn't even wear the helmet anymore.
He's doing what he considered doing in season 1, which is just being quiet. And like what that girl was saying wanted him to do was just like, you don't have to go and fight anymore. You can just be happy here. At the time, he wasn't ready to do it. Now he is. Yeah. Buried at the bottom of the press release. At the bottom of the press release, they talked about how it was created by Favreau and Filoni is also like busy prepping season 2 of Ahsoka. So there was an official announcement for Ahsoka buried at the bottom of the press release about the Mando movie. But that, in my mind, just makes me think it's a ways off, but we're getting it. It's coming, we're getting it, but it's probably a couple of years away.
I want them to go out to Utah. I don't want them to shoot a movie in the volume. I want it to be a goddamn western, but I don't know. I don't know if they're bold enough to make a Star Wars movie where it's like anti-guns.
And I don't know if Favreau is interested in that, because Favreau loves tech. Like he's kind of gone down the route of Robert Zemeckis, so he loves doing the new tech stuff for good and for real. Like he pushes it forward.
It's good for shows.
Yeah, it's fine for shows. It's absolutely fine for shows. But like, let's go and shoot outside. Let's go see some stuff. You got the movie budget now.
I don't hate the volume like Stevie does, but watching Andor was like you can see watching Andor. There was like it it feels different. It
Yeah.
just feels different. I
Hits
don't
different.
mind the volume because it's no different than the green screen.
Yeah.
It's just you have adaptive lighting off the
Mhm.
helmet and stuff. It makes perfect sense. But
It's great. So it's the next evolution of that. But that was the people's problems with the prequels. It was just all in a green room, and it's just like,
some
yeah,
someone on Blue Sky was talking about, getting like some of the artists who are making these great films this year, if they can pull off the scope of a Star Wars. And my response was, no, can we get these people to do a Star Wars movie in their scope? Like,
yeah, that'd be cool. Doesn't need to be the biggest
I
thing
don't
in the
need to
world.
go to space. Like,
No?
if this Mando movie doesn't go to space and it's just set in a, like, it's an interesting story, we're gonna watch
All
it.
Navarro. Yeah.
I don't know Navarro, but wherever he is he on Navarro at the end?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
then
it gives him a plot of land. Yeah, it gives him the
Yeah.
plot of land. Because then you can still have Carl Weathers. Love me some Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers
Still
could
have
be the
still have the Anzellans, like
Gene
the
Hackman.
bad baby Anzellans. Yeah. I can pop up. IG-80 or IG-11 still there. Like, they're all coming. They're all coming.
Again. Oh, God.
Sorry, Ralph. Didn't mean to ruin your day.
No. I saw the news and I kind of just, I don't know. I tucked it. I'm working on my own thing, and I saw the news, and I'm like, ugh. And then I just kind of put it in the back of my mind. But talking with you, I'm like, yeah, this is something we're gonna have to watch and we're gonna cover. And I should be excited.
And we're gonna cover all the
movies,
trailers. We're gonna cover all of the stuff. Like we're
great.
It gives us
It's
plenty of
got to be something special. If it's going to be a movie, it's got to be something special. It's got to be more than the show.
That's my fear, is that it's not, and that it's a placeholder because they want something out. And my fear is that they do this. They do it quick. They do it in the volume, and they have it out at fucking Christmas. Like, that's my fear. Like, I think we're all absolutely fine. When we thought that the Ray movie was going to be the first one up at bat, we're like, cool, we're not getting a movie this year, but they're shooting one this year. We get it next Christmas. Awesome. I am absolutely fine with that. Now my fear is they want something quicker than that. And if they shoot, I feel like if they could shoot this outside, it doesn't need to be a big shoot. That's the thing. It's Mando. It doesn't need to be
Robert
a big
Rodriguez shot a Mando outside, or yeah.
Just go outside and shoot some stuff, and you can have it out for May next year. Have that come out in May, and then have. See, I don't want 2 in a year. I think we've done that, and it doesn't work. Like, it makes me go, okay, we're not getting Ray next year. We're going to get that in 2026. And then probably the Thrawn movie in 27, and the James Mangold Dawn of the Jedi movie in 28, maybe. Like, fucking hell, we're not going to make it to 2028. No one's making it to 2028.
No.
World's going to be on fire by then.
Yeah, I think they said something about the global temperatures at whatever it is, and it's like
it's hitting 1.5 this year, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, if Scott, you're here every week. You know me.
Is it here? Is it here? Was it here?
I'll use my Guy Gardner. Right here. That's where it hurt
me.
Right in the brains. No, but and Scott, who's part of my Patreon, so he listened to my Mando show before live action started, like when it was just an audio show, like the first 2 seasons. Like, there's an episode, I think 5 or something of season 1, where I think it was Alex Stewart was my guest, and I'm just like, I can't with this show. I don't want to talk about this show anymore.
Wow.
And people love The Mandalorian. It's the one thing people talk about with reverence as far as the Disney era. It's the one thing they don't bitch about, like Kathleen Kennedy ruining. They think it's because the 2 men are overseeing this, even though she's, I'm sure, involved. So they're probably like doing the thing.
It's
just
the
give them
bet.
what they want.
I think it's the safe bet.
And I've mentioned this in Ahsoka. I'm tired of the safe bet. I want to get weird.
Yeah.
I want to get weird Star Wars. And I know
I
Favreau likes the holiday special and enough to be like, dude, let's get weird. Come on.
yeah,
Like,
let's do
let's
it.
really go crazy. Or just
I
do
my
Unforgiven.
hopes for it is a standalone, good, really well done because they do exist. Really good Mando and Grogu adventure. Doesn't need to tie into Thrawn and Ahsoka at all. It can be its own thing. I don't know where it's going to tie in with Skeleton Crew because that's
Oh,
apparently
don't tie into stuff.
no, don't tie into stuff. If you're going to do a movie, make it so that it can just be on its own. You don't need to
Yeah.
have watched it. Hey, if you've got a knowledge of who Mando and Grogu are, great. If not, they are a dad and his son living on a farm at the beginning of the film, and an adventure happens, and then it ends. And maybe that ends their story. Maybe it
Yeah.
just like if they come back, it leads into another season of Mando down the line when they need to get to it, when they can get Pedro. But like otherwise, like just make it a standalone, separate entity on its own thing. And in that case, fine, go with the safe bet. Everyone loves Mando. Like, go with that as your one back because I feel like they are scared of movie theaters after the reception that everything's got in the last two theatrical films that they got, which we love. After those, after the last three and the public reception of those movies, like they are scared of being in movie theaters, I think. And
It's been 5 years.
it's been 5 years. It'll be six probably by the time at least six by the time this is out. And when was the last time that everyone was like, that was really, really good? And there wasn't much bitching. Rogue One, Force Awakens, probably. Like,
Yeah.
and even then there's going to be people bitching, but you're talking nearly a decade.
There's always going to be bitching.
Yeah. But you're talking nearly 10 years since like there was a movie that the general consensus was that was really fun. That was really good. That was my Star Wars, quote unquote. And so going in with Mando, I get it from a business side of things. I get why they're going to do that. Going in with a Rey movie, like you're going to put off all of the Minox. I think good, but it doesn't make business sense.
Right. But also, I don't want it to be business as usual. I want it to be
less fucking
refreshing.
go. We've got Star Wars. Who cares if you put off 20% of the audience? We don't want those guys anyway. They suck. They ruined it for the rest of us.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll see, dude. I apprehensive about it for sure. Thinking about Pete and Alex because if this is released in theaters, I feel like it's in their mandate. They're going to have to cover this. I don't know if they're the biggest Mandalorian fans.
I don't think they are.
They are.
Don't think they are.
I
tweeted
weird.
years ago when it was like when there was a gap in the movie's release schedule coming. I remember tweeting at them going, "I'm so happy for you guys that you get to have a bit of a break." And they were both like, "Oh, so are we. We just it's been 12 years now of this solidly, pretty much, and not quite, but like." And then this is going to be the comeback. I mean, yeah, they're going to probably do special editions, which is awesome. But yeah. Scott D says, get Giacchino to do new music for the holiday special. That'd be great. I'd like to see Ludwig come back if they're going to do it. Like have him do a new score. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Like you can bring in the themes from the show, obviously, but like a full movie score. He's won a couple of Oscars in the past, so let's get him a Star Wars.
Who did season 3? John Shirley was his name. John something Shirley.
Yeah. Don't call me Shirley.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, Ludwig, it would be great. I just, yeah. I mean, let Favreau do it. Sure. We waited really long to.
Yeah. Yeah. Bill Burr's going to be in it, isn't he? We're going to get that character come back.
I don't know.
Anyone but Gina. We talked for 40 minutes about Wedge, which was great. And then we talked about 20 minutes about current events. So perfect data link, if you ask me.
You're right. Right. like I mentioned, we're not going to be here next week.
Tristan suggests David Lynch can come and do it. That'd be amazing. I'd fucking love that.
Like, let him just let. Here's my thing. Somehow James Gunn got to make a James Gunn movie in the Marvel universe. Somehow
Made 3 of them.
Taika Waititi got to make a Taika Waititi movie in the Marvel universe. Matt Reeves got to make a Batman movie, his a Matt Reeves movie in his own DC universe. Like, that's what I want for Star Wars.
Favreau doesn't make his own movies. Maybe is that what you're trying to say? Like, because he made a couple of them too.
I'm saying all Star Wars feels the same to me. They're all going off of George's template that he said in 1977. I would love to see David Lynch just make a batshit crazy movie. It just happens to have like a blaster in it.
You ever seen the documentary Hodorowski's Dune?
No, I haven't.
Great doc. Like, and that just makes you go, man, I wish I could see that film. Like, because that shit was weird. And what a weird, brilliant dude.
Yeah. So, like, I bet you a Matt Reeves Star Wars would be crazy. Like, if they told me Matt Reeves is doing a Mandalorian movie,
hell yeah,
I'd be like, do you get me? Like, I'm there.
Because it doesn't need to be like dark and gritty like Batman. It can be like War for the Planet of the Apes, which is big and epic in scope and but still tells a personal story. Yeah. Give me a David Fincher Star Wars movie. Like, I mean, the Batman, like Matt Reeves' Batman is basically a Fincher movie anyway. Like, but give me a Fincher Star Wars. Like, that'd be cool.
I want it to be where it'll be like from the director of Seven. Like, I want it to be where you're like, hey, listen, this is gonna be something different. It's the whole thing with the Star Wars story sort of moniker. Like Gareth Edwards made a Gareth Edwards movie. It was set in Star Wars, but he loved Star Wars so much that it felt like, but it still had like an overcast look. It wasn't so bright. It was handheld.
It had some character to it. It had some and that's what the promise of those Star Wars stories was going to be. But then they had their problems, like the behind the scenes problems, I think, with Solo. So we got a Ron Howard movie, and it's
Ron Howard's movie, kind of,
but Ron Howard's a journeyman, like, and that's not a bad thing. But
I feel like Force Awakens is a JJ movie.
Totally. I think it's more of a JJ movie than Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
I
want the directors who have vision to be able to show their vision. It doesn't need to be part of the story group. It just needs to be, I don't know, just why Mandalorian?
Because it's the safe bet. It's in their minds, it's the one that's not gonna ruffle feathers, and it warms people back up to the idea of going to see a Star Wars movie in theaters. Which have a little faith. Like, if you book them, they will come. If you put a Star Wars movie in theaters, people will turn out, even if they don't like it all that much. Even if it's the second one that they've seen in 6 months and they don't turn out as much. Like, Solo still made bank. Like, it wasn't, just not as much bank as the others. That's the problem that they've got to get over.
I remember
such a high barrier of entry. That's what throws me with this.
One of my favorite things is that, after opening weekend, people were bashing on Solo. Every dorky news outlet was like Solo fails to perform. And then Ron Howard posts on Twitter,
highest grossing movie he's ever made, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the highest grossing movie he's ever made. Thanks to everybody who showed up. We had a blast making it. It's like, there's perspective there.
Yeah, exactly.
There's perspective there. So
there's Star Wars money, and then there's other movies, and it's like Cameron puts out a movie, and if it doesn't make $1.5 billion, like, it's a failure. It's like, no, it's not. It's still made over $1 billion. Like, he just fucking shits that out at breakfast, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see it.
Yeah,
we'll see it.
Yeah.
We'll be excited when the trailer drops. We'll be talking about it.
I'm excited that there's a Star Wars movie going into production.
Yeah. Are you going to be excited about behind the scenes? It's just going to be like, it'll look like the Mandalorian show, right?
Oh man,
Favreau. I know we're deep into this, and you're definitely not watching at this point,
Oh no, he tunes in. He
Come on
tunes
the
in all the way
show.
through.
Come on the show. Everybody who's in the chat, tweet to Favreau and tell him to come on Star
Blue
Wars.
Sky. I think he's on Blue Sky.
Data link. Is he on Blue Sky?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, this is a dude who used to like take solicits about what to do in Iron Man on MySpace. Like he's pretty online. So, you know, we like you, John. Like I'm a big fan of Swingers. Big fan of Swingers, big fan of Chef.
Elf?
Like
Elf is good. Yeah. It makes me laugh. I watch it every year. It knocked Godzilla -1 out of IMAX, which is weird, which kind of made me mad.
Shit. Yeah, that is
Iron Man's great.
Iron Man's great.
He started the MCU. Please don't try to start a.
He's always going to be credited as the guy who started Star Wars on TV.
Yeah.
But he's cool. He just seems like a great guy as well. Like I like the chef show, like his actual cooking show that he does. Super charming, super fun. He just seems like a nice, cuddly person. John, we like you. We support you. We want it to be great. We're just a little bit worried that it will be less
TV show.
Yeah, it would just be a TV show on the big screen. Like,
make us excited to get off our couches and go to a theater and sit down and watch a Star Wars.
We're gonna do it anyway, but make us excited to do it.
And get Ludwig.
Yeah, if you don't get Ludwig, what are you doing? Yeah.
Unless Williams wants to do it. Can you imagine John Williams playing with Ludwig Göransson's themes?
Can you imagine John Williams playing with Grogu? Because I can. I think he'd fucking love that guy.
Yeah.
He'd have him in the studio. He'd give the Grogu puppet like his theme or something like.
Yeah.
No, John Williams doing Ludwig. I mean, we've seen John Williams do Beastie Boys, so we can see John Williams do Ludwig.
Yeah.
That's gonna do it. Let's wrap up because my throat's sore. I got a cold, and we've gone half and half on this one. Everybody go and watch some Wedge Wars. Everyone loves Wedge. Wedge is the best. This was the Wedge episode. That was it.
This is the Wedge. He's the Wedge of DC Comics.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Hal Jordan.
I'd agree with that. Our next, so there's not going to be a regular episode next week, but we're not going to come back with a data link in 2 weeks' time. We're going to come back with a regular episode in 2 weeks' time. There might be something next week. There might not. In 2 weeks' time, it is our regular episode number 94.
94.
So
we don't know what it is. We don't know what we're doing yet, but follow us on Blue Sky, maybe Twitter. Follow us on Instagram at Live Action SW. I think we still have a Facebook page. Just follow us on socials. Whatever we Instagram out, we'll let you know ahead of time what we're covering in case you need to do some homework and watch that thing.
We'll figure it out. If you've got any suggestions about what we could do to celebrate 94, it's just, it's one of those Star Wars numbers, isn't it? So let's do something fun with it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's gonna be in 2 weeks' time. Ralph is gonna go to Hawaii and make me very, very jealous. He's gonna do some very cool things over there.
So can I just real quick, just to make you more jealous? So Stevie wasn't able to go to Hawaii with me next week. So we decided that we're going to go in April to see Michael's concert. And the tickets for the concert are purchased and the flight.
What day's the concert? If you say it's on my birthday, I'm going to hate you.
It's on April 27th.
Oh, okay. So it's 20 days after. Damn it. Man.
It's our 20th wedding anniversary.
All right. I'll let you off.
Yeah. So,
have an amazing time in Hawaii. I can't wait to hear all about it. And until 2 weeks' time, probably. Don't give in to hate.
Celebrate the love.
Yub, Commander.